Uplifting community. All you people, come on, yeah. Uplifting community. Yeah, people, come on, yeah, yeah. Uplifting community. Yeah. People, come on, yeah. Uplifting community. So we can get it right. We can get it right.
A man freed this past spring after being wrongfully imprisoned for 2 decades.
What does it mean for Devontae and the others who could still be locked up, innocent men wrongfully imprisoned?
About 10 times a month now, an innocent person is freed from an American prison.
Every day, American justice is delivered in hearings that look just like this. In the dock, a disproportionately high number of young black men.
He told KCBS TV that his defense attorney at the time gave him a choice: plead no contest to rape or risk a trial that could send him to prison for life.
When you go into that courtroom, the jury is going to see a big black teenager, and you're automatically going to be assumed guilty.
Welcome to Uplifting Community's television talk show. This show is to provide information and real-life strategies for successful living. I'm Terry A. O'Neill.
I'm John L. Brown.
And I'm T.D. Trice. Welcome to today's program. Today we're going to talk with our special guest, Mr. Tio Sessoms, about the prison system and things that people just don't know about the system.
Mr. Sessoms served 19 years. At the age of 19, he was convicted and sentenced to life without parole, plus 15 years for a murder he didn't commit. Mr. Sessoms, can you tell us a little bit about your story?
Yes, thank you for having me. 19 years old, I was sentenced and convicted to a murder that I did not commit based under the felony murder rule. That's now been passed, that if the person didn't actually commit the crime, there's no way that the person should be sentenced to life without. Unfortunately, there are a few things that I cannot discuss about my case due to the fact that there's civil proceedings still going on in the federal courts. But for the most part, I actually was sentenced to life without at 19, going to a California state prison system, where I could not go no lower than a level 4 maximum security yard. To the things that I witnessed at first was completely foreign to me. Everything that you learn on this side of the wall is absolutely absent on the inside, and vice versa.
So just a second there. Tell us about, because you mentioned just now, you mentioned level 4.
Yes.
So that implies that there's different levels. Could you expand a little bit about what those levels are, and tell us a little bit about that so we understand what level 4 means versus, say, level 1 or level 2 or level 3?
Absolutely. A level 1 would be considered a person with a less amount of time, okay. or maybe the sentence, the charges that they actually had. Level 1, they're just pretty much freelance. There's no fence around their housing.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Level 2s would be maybe a little, to be quite honest, I couldn't tell you the way that the sentencing structure worked, but I can tell you about level 4s.
Okay.
Level 4s would be those that have robbery charges, murder charges, those of that nature, and there's less movement.
Okay.
To where you are 23 hours in a cell, 1 hour out, maybe a little bit more, and it's every other day. You know, showers are every other day. Your program period is pretty much in cell, but when you come out, you're out.
Okay, I see that. So can you tell the audience about the federal appeals, filing after a conviction?
The appeal system works based on the fact I had a state case. I had to go through the state levels at first, which is the direct appeal. A notice of appeal is filed by the trial attorney, and then you'll go to an organization. The one that I went through was called CCAP. That's a Central California Appellate Program, and CCAP would turn around and give me an attorney anywhere in the state of California, and then the appellant attorney will overlook the case, see what the trial counsel did or did not do, and they'll either file the exact same thing that the trial court filed, or they may add something on board depending on what was put on record.
Yeah, I've know of quite a few people getting sentenced and tried for crimes that they didn't do. How they go about, I don't understand, why would they charge somebody for a crime they didn't do? What happened? Explain that, how can a person get caught up like that?
Unfortunately, I do not have all the answers for that, but it really boils down to cases being closed. You can't have, you can't have an open case. Somebody has to take the fall. Terrible to hear, isn't it?
Yeah.
It is.
What about knowing your case? You start out with the warrants. What about the warrants is so important at the beginning?
Okay, like I said, I was 19 when I was first incarcerated, so I had absolutely no idea about a warrant. I didn't see my arrest warrant until my 16th year.
Really?
Why is that?
What?
Because it boils down to the defense counsel that you have. When here in Sacramento, you see your attorney in a month, maybe once. I was appointed a court-appointed attorney. No names need to be disclosed.
Sure.
But I barely saw this guy. So I didn't get, he didn't hold my hand and walk me through the entire process.
Right.
It was just, we're going to this court date. This is what's going to happen. They're most likely going to do this. And we're in and we're out. I just sit there and be quiet. I didn't learn the system until I actually got to prison.
So what about the warrant? How can they request to see the warrant?
Well, the warrant is one of the first documents that's supposed to be issued to the attorney for the attorney to look over and make sure all the elements fit. And also, most importantly, if the warrant is actually signed. If the warrant isn't signed, then the warrant is void. It does not exist. There's no way a person should be incarcerated by an unsigned arrest warrant.
Agreed.
And that was one of my issues as well. My warrant was not signed.
Oh my goodness.
Wow.
That's shocking. That is really shocking.
Yeah, so in other words, they just bamboozled you.
Absolutely. I was 19, completely
Didn't
ignorant
know.
to the law. Let's do whatever it is we want.
I was doing some research, and on my first book, The Unspoken, What the World Don't Talk About. And I was talking with some young people, and they was telling me that the public defendant, now this is what they told me. I'm not just saying this. They'll tell you go ahead on and plead guilty.
Absolutely.
And you're going to do 6 months, and then you'll be out.
Yeah.
But a lot of time what happens is that you can be pleading guilty. Yeah, you do your 6 months, but that stuff stay on your record.
Absolutely, it does. And plus, it's a get him in, get him out mentality. The public defender's office, they have only X amount of attorneys, and then you have 500 people sitting in the jail, if not more. I'm almost for certain it's more if you do the math on it, the floors and both sides and all that. But all these public defenders can't defend
If someone is charged with a crime but cannot afford an attorney, the court is required to provide one. In most cases, that person is a so-called public defender. But what if that public defender already has too many clients to serve as competent representation? That's a situation playing out in many states.
So you have so many people coming in, it's like, I'll take the first deal they give me. I just want to get out of here.
Right.
And you have a public defender that's saying, that's what I needed to hear. I'll get you the best deal I can. I'll get you out in 2 weeks. But you take this strike. Then the next time you get in trouble, that strike doubles your time.
Yes.
What about so you're talking about your public defender, but the lawyer, how do you know if a lawyer is working with you or against you? How did you know?
Okay, so
How would one know this?
I walked through the absolute worst attorneys that a person could be given. So I didn't find out I had a decent enough attorney until my appellant attorney in the federal courts came along, Eric Weaver. He's out of Albany, California. I had so many attorneys tell me this, tell me that. When it comes down to the paperwork being filed, the motions being filed, and you can read in the way they're delivering their motion, the fire, the passion that they have for you, that's when you know. That's when you know.
An in the moment thing.
Absolutely. It's like you can tell me whatever it is you want. You can tell me, oh, I'm gonna fight for you, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, but you file the motion and then the motion is 3 pages. I could have did that.
Right.
So it's
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
So it's really just going to boil down to the work the attorney puts in, the communication between the defendant and the lawyer. You'll know by the communication aspect, because me and Eric Weaver, he was my attorney for 10 years, and me and him communicated like we were brothers, you know, disconnected at the hip. But he stayed on my case and I stayed on his just as much.
Which is interesting because I noticed in some of your YouTube videos, one of your YouTube videos, you mentioned about communication.
Absolutely.
And how important communication is.
It's very valuable.
Tell us a little bit about how to keep that communication structure, how you kept that communication structure in place.
Okay. Well, the communication is a two-way street. If you have people that, like, again, they tell you one thing, but they do the complete opposite, you kind of see where I'm going with that.
Yes.
You know, so if all I had for 18 straight years, start to finish, was my mother and my Aunt Betty. You know, these women, they're cut from that era where women were made of iron. You know, so my Aunt Betty told me in the very beginning, she said, now, sweetie, I don't write. You can call anytime you feel like it.
She let you know up front.
But when the phone calls lessened because we were on lockdown, because I got in some trouble, because of whatever happened, the phones weren't working.
Right.
My sweetheart turned around, sat down 20 minutes out of the day, once a week, twice a week or something like that, and would get a letter out. No, it's just one page, front, back, maybe. But communication is extremely important because, excuse me, it tells you on the inside to keep doing whatever it is that you're doing.
Yeah. What impresses me is that, you know, after all you done been through, you're still out there trying to help people in the community. You know, and that's very impressive. Trying to, you know, educate these young people and teach them what the prison system is all about and to stay away from it.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's nothing to brag about.
There's nothing to brag about. You know, so tell the audience a little bit about what you do in the community.
Okay, so when I first got out of prison, I was introduced to a PAC meeting. It's where basically a lot of people that were in prison, they go to meet different organizations that will offer jobs, clothes, housing, stuff like that.
Is PAC, is that P-A-C?
P-A-C-T. I think I'd be lying to you if I said yes or no.
Okay. Okay.
But I ran across an organization called Anti-Recidivism Coalition. I ended up going to their very first staff meeting. It's like a group meeting. I was the only person there, fortunately, but I got to sit down with my guidance counselor then, David Reyes, and we discussed a lot within that 1.5 hour time. And they knew that I was serious about the direction that I was going in. Then I met Esteban Nunez. He's still there right now. Victor Malin, he's made waves. He's doing his own thing right now. But I met these gentlemen, and they all knew that I was sincere. When Senate Bill 1391 came up for felony murder rule, Esteban called me, and I told him, I was like, you know, that's what sent me to prison. He said, I know. I know, that's why I'm calling you. Would you like to speak on the Senate floor in regards to it? So I told him absolutely yes. You know, you can count me in. I showed up. I didn't have to go to the meetings to learn about the felony murder because I lived felony murder.
Lived it, yes.
You know, so it was that was a situation I had to stand for no matter what.
Is the Anti-Recidivism Coalition, is that something that you're a part of now?
Oh, absolutely. I'm deeply rooted with them. I stay in contact, me and Esteban, so much to the point where if anything comes up along the lines of this, I'm always on his speed dial for that. But for the most part, they're doing great work. They're doing their absolute best to keep people out of prison. You know, it's the recidivism part of not going back, not repeating the same offenses, not hanging out with the bad crowds. You're hanging out with people that are moving forward, not backwards.
Exactly.
So what are they doing to get the people, you know, that's on the verge of going to prison, of out there doing, you know, stuff that's illegal and stuff, and those that's coming out of prison, how are they reaching out to these people? I mean, you know, because because sometimes a person that's out there doing crazy stuff and they're gonna end them up in prison. You know, if you know they don't get the message until it's too late. So how are they reaching out to these people?
Or is there any outreach? Or is there any outreach?
Oh yeah, that's a good one. Or is there any outreach for these people?
Yes, there's it's the old school principle of word of mouth. There are people spread it throughout the entire city of Sacramento, as well as California. They have their home bases in Los Angeles, but there are people from the communities all over Sacramento here. So if you're truly deeply rooted with your community, you see a young man that's going a different direction, you know, there's a way for you to change the entire energy. Let me introduce you to this life coach here. Let me go in the community and speak to these people about the situation that's going on. When we sit on the Capitol steps and speak with people, there's tons of youth that are actually there. So the process, you know, it's all olive branches are being pushed out to the point where everybody is knowing about ARC and the direction that they're going and pulling the youth in so that nobody would have to take that trip to prison. The youth understands that we are fighting for them.
Okay.
Is there a website or that people can go to get more information about ARC?
I personally believe, I think it's antirecidivismcoalition.org or .com.
Okay.
Something like that. I'm not sure.
Well, we'll be sure to post that information on a lower third in the program that you're watching. Tell us a little bit, if you would talk about, kind of stepping back a little bit, but talk about the improper medical care that is in the system right now.
Okay, that's how I know you actually watch my YouTube channel.
I was fixing to ask you that question.
Okay, now that right here is going to make me sweat because the medical system, it boils down to the prison that you're at.
Okay.
Like a sister asked me earlier today, what prison were you at? I told her the list is, I told her it'd be better if I told her where I didn't go, just to make the list shorter. There were certain prisons that I were at where the medical system was fine. You know, you had an illness or whatever medical ailment that you needed, they took care of that need. But this one particular prison that I was at, I had a blood clot, a hematoma, growing on my calf, on my right calf. It was the size of a baseball. This institution allowed me to have that for 11 months and 5 days.
Good Lord.
Before it was cut out. I fought tooth and nail with the chief medical officer to get just the MRI just so we can see what the blood clot was. And then it came up 3 or 4 different diagnoses of Baker cyst, ganglion cyst, hematoma, and or lymphoma. And when I got the trip to San Joaquin General Hospital in Stockton, the doctor said, okay, we don't know what this is, but we're going to go ahead and push the envelope for surgery to take place sooner than later. I found out during the process of filing my medical 602s that they denied the very first surgery date that the doctor had given.
Wow.
And what it boils down to is how much time you have. I had life without.
Okay.
So why are we going to give this person life without when he's never getting out? I can't say all prisons are like that, but this particular one I was at, most definitely.
That is tragic.
It is.
That's
That's
awful.
tragic.
And the last
And
prison.
here you is on a talk show, but
And
you're not getting out.
Yeah, I know. I didn't tell him about my appeal.
Okay.
But the last prison that I was at, there was two incidents to where one was an older black gentleman, real sharp. He was real sharp. I forget this brother's name, but I'll never forget his face. He had like a cyst growing on his eye to where his blind spot was about right here in his face. He couldn't see anything from here back.
Wow.
So he always, when you see him, he's like, what is he doing? He was always walking to where a wall was on his right side. And he
To keep his bearings.
Absolutely, so he could see the rest of the yard. And this gentleman, he went to see the ophthalmologist, and the eye surgeon told him, put it in his file, absolutely you need surgery to have this cyst removed. And based on the fact he was 67 years old, 70 years old, and he had life, guess what the medical system did? They denied him.
They're not going to invest in that.
No.
Did he ever get it?
I left, so I do not know. And I end up, when I left Solano State Prison, when I left there to go to the Sacramento jail, I sat there for 2 years to the point where I ended up losing his contact information, so I couldn't even check on him if I wanted to.
Wow.
And another thing that I wanted to ask you, you did a lot of studying, up in the prison about the law.
Absolutely.
How was that? I mean, but I know why you did it.
Yeah.
But I mean, how was that journey, learning about the law, man? I mean, that must have been,
Learning another language.
Yeah.
Because it's a tragic situation when you have to learn while you're in it.
Absolutely. And you have a time period.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Can you share? Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead, sister.
No, I was just gonna ask you if you could share the most difficult. Was that the hardest thing you had to deal with? I'm sure it wasn't, but I just want you to share a little bit about your the difficult part of your experience.
The most difficult would be the fact of learning the law. And when you look at the habeas corpus petition, it tells you, just explain briefly how you feel you were wronged. So I do that, and then it says, it asks for case laws to support what you're saying. I do that, and then I send it into the court, and the court looks at it and just like, denied, and get him out of there. So that is the most mentally the hardest part, because I remember when I had written it out so perfect, so clear for my trial judge to understand this is how I was wronged in these different ways. And for the judge to turn around and deny me with in a matter of minutes, the distance between when I sent it, when he received it, and when he sent it out wasn't no more than a couple of days. So that hurt me to the point where that was the one and only time that I felt like I was going to quit, that I was going to accept life without. I was 23 years old. And I told my cellie, there's a brother of mine to this day, David Fulbright. I told him, I said, I'm just going to accept being here.
What was the trigger moment when you started to see that there was light at the end of that tunnel?
I don't believe there was a trigger moment. When I told David Fulbright that I was going to quit, and it was about 9 or 10 o'clock at night, he told me, just get some rest, homie, it'll be all right. I woke up at 3 a.m. and started right back writing.
Okay.
And I said I refused to quit. It made my soul extremely heavy to know that I was going to quit, to know that if I didn't have anybody else out here waiting for me to get out, would be my mom and my aunt. I didn't want to let my ladies down. Those are my golden girls, and we've been rocking.
And your perseverance paid off.
Absolutely. It took a very long time, but if you ever talk to Eric Weaver, he'll tell you a story the first time, the Ninth Circuit, a 3-judge panel, was two denials and one judge, Betty Fletcher, that was saying, let me go. And I told Eric, I said, Eric, everything's about to change right now. This is our first judge to say yes to what we're filing. Just watch.
There it is.
And then after that, everything turned. You just got to play the turns in life. Everybody has good luck, everybody has bad luck. But it boils down to how you play those bad turns.
Wow.
Well, thank you so very much, Mr. Sessoms,
Yes,
for
thank
sharing
you.
your deeply heartfelt story with us.
I highly appreciate you guys bringing me on.
Absolutely. If there's something that you'd like to share with the viewing audience, whether it be communicating, if there's a way that they can communicate to either you or the ARC organization, or if there's anything you'd like to share with the community, would you let us know?
Absolutely. Would you like me to do that now?
Yes, sir.
All right. To the community, I stand with you through any type of weather. I walked it, I lived it, and I'll never forget the faces that I actually left behind. My duty now is to serve my community. It's to be with you through every single thing that you're about to go through. And I'll be at the gates when my folks get out to welcome you back. Right now, I'm in motion of starting a business myself called Trend Consulting LLC, and it's in regards to this right here, letting families know about what it is exactly that they'll be going through in the prison system, starting from the day they are arrested to the day they are released. So you can contact me at TheoLifeWithout at gmail.com, trendconsultingllc.com, and please check my YouTube channel out. It's a ton of information, but I have a very small window, so I try and cram as much information in as possible, and I look forward to helping every single one of you. Let's get back. Peace.
With that, I'd like to thank you for taking time out to check out Uplifting Communities, the television talk show. I'm T.D. Trice.
I'm Terry A. O'Neill.
I'm Tio Sessoms.
And I'm John L. Brown.
Thank you for joining us today. Take care, and we'll see you next time.
All you people, come on, yeah. Uplifting community. Yeah, people, come on, yeah, yeah. Uplifting community. Yeah. People, come on, yeah. Uplifting community. So we can get it right. We can get it right. Waiting on you. Uplifting. Whoa, whoa. Bring it together, y'all. Yeah. Uplifting.